phrase. Very, very important. Try and let that penetrate into your mind, because people think that, it's a lovely answer to people. What's wrong with pornography? The problem is, it's not shows. They would think that, it's showing too much. It's rude. It's dirty. It's filth. No, that's not what it's about. It doesn't show enough about the person. St. Matthew, but I say to you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. I just put this quote in here in the middle of all this just to, we were talking about John Paul, and here we have Christ. This is a magnificent phrase, and it sums up everything what we're talking about. The nuptial meaning of femininity and masculinity is inscribed in the whole interior and at the same time visible structure of the human person. So, the nuptial meaning is very clearly manifest in our body, through our genitalia and so on. Okay, it's very, very clear. But it's also in the whole interior, how we relate to each other. Understanding who you are as a man or a woman is fundamental in your relationship with others. How you relate with the opposite sex and how you relate with your own sex. It's fundamental. There is a special responsibility, which is not only artistic, to be aware of the full truth of the object, of the whole scale of values connected with it. The artist must not only take them into account in abstract, but also live them correctly himself. So we're not only talking about an artistic aspect here. This responsibility is not only artistic. We're dealing with the full truth of the object, the whole scale of values, which make the human person. The artist must not only take them into account in abstracto. I can't just talk about theology of the body as an abstract concept. No, I have to live this. This has to be part of my life. Because if it's not part of my life, if I'm not living this, if the theology of the body does not transform me, it will not transform my work, and I will not be able to help other people become transformed through my work. Now, that's not just an artist, but that goes for all of us. We must be transformed by the theology of the body if we are to communicate it to others. Otherwise, it just becomes another intellectual plaything. And it's too valuable to be left at that. His art manifests his interior world of values, and so also his living the truth of his object. In this process, a characteristic transfiguration of the model or of the material takes place. So, when an artist makes a work of art, he's manifesting his interior world of values. Now, this is Canova. He's a neoclassical artist. He's very good, but not my taste particularly. But he is manifesting his values. His values are Neoplatonic values, and he sees women in that way. And God help him. So he's living his truth living his truth of the object. How he understands women is that way. Okay, so that's what he manifests. In the process of a characteristic transfiguration of the model takes place. So he's transfiguring the model. You can see that there's a complete difference between the model and the sculpture. So he's transfigurating in the material. The import of the pursuit of suprasensual beauty, which leads the viewer through the body to the whole personal mystery of man. It's very important not to when you're looking at a beautiful painting of a beautiful woman or a beautiful man, that you don't just leave it at that. You don't just, you must push forward and search for the dignity, search for the great beauty that lies beneath. And that's the suprasensual. So you got the sensual beauty and you got the suprasensual beauty. Sensuality is not bad. It is actually the raw material of love, as Pope John Paul II talks about. The raw material of love. Very, very important. So, but we were pushing it to the suprasensual. So, for instance, there was an interesting story of Saint Escriva, the founder of Opus Dei, when he was in the Louvre with one of the early members of Opus Dei. And this young man said they were admiring the Venus de Milo, sculpture, Greek sculpture of a half-clad woman. And this young man said to Saint Escriva, "Is this not impure? It's not pornography?" And he said, "No, this is beautiful. This shows the truth of the dignity of woman. It's such a dignified pose. It manifests the greatness and the dignity of woman as a god." And this is a real eye-opener for him. And this is very, very important for us to be able to challenge ourselves and challenge others to see the true dignity of a work of art. Because only when we have this understanding will we be able to commission good works of art. Because only when you know what's good will you be able to look for it. I'm not looking for commissions, don't worry. But you must know what you're looking for. Okay? Paul VI's encyclical Humanae Vitae emphasizes the need to create an atmosphere favorable to the education of chastity. Number 22. The dignity of this body and to its significance in the building the communion of persons, which is one of the fundamental dimensions of human culture. So we need to create an atmosphere favorable to the education of chastity. That's a very important focus. And we have to use everything we can to make that a reality. Because it's this communion of persons, which we are trying to preserve, is one of the fundamental dimensions of human culture. And the way the world has changed is not necessarily through power, through wars, through politics. No, the world is transformed through culture. We must never forget that. And that culture is in our hands. It's not pointing the finger to the world leaders or the armies. No, culture belongs to us, and we must make it our own. We must form ourselves culturally and transform the culture ourselves.
In this extraordinary visualization of man, the ethos of the image cannot be considered apart from the correlative element which we would have to call the ethos of seeing. This is a reciprocal circuit which takes place between the image and the seeing, between the ethos of the image and the ethos of seeing. These obligations are not only of an aesthetic, but also an ethical nature. So, again, this is John Paul emphasizing that there's a clear responsibility of the artist, but there's also a very clear responsibility of the viewer. It is important to overcome the anonymity of the human body as an object without choice. Through the truth about man in his feminine and masculine corporality. The choice is between making an effort to approach this truth or to remain merely a superficial consumer of impressions. So we have to overcome this anonymity of the body. The body should never be anonymous. The only way a human being should relate to another human being is with love. Never lose. So whenever you see an image or meet a person, it the only valid relationship should be love.